This is Mac OS Ken.
Apple Music Classical is finally here, almost. Evercore is stoked over Apple in India, and watching baseball without having to watch baseball. It is Friday, the 10th of March, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Collide. Endpoint security powered by people. Learn more and book a demo today at collide.com/macOSCan. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. After a surprisingly long wait, Apple Music Classical is finally here after a bit more waiting. Apple's answer to Frederick freaking Chopin turned up in the App Store on Thursday. Well, information about it did. It was the end of August in 2021 that Apple bought a well-regarded classical music service called PrimePhonic. Within days, Apple shuttered that service, though it gave PrimePhonic subscribers a 6-month subscription to Apple Music at no cost. It also said that a new classical app would be out the following year, which didn't really happen, but it's happening now. In a couple of weeks. A piece from the Mac Observer says the service will go live on the 28th of March, though Apple is kind of funny in its wording on that. The placeholder in the App Store says Apple Music Classical is expected the 28th of March. Still stinging perhaps from that sometime in 2022 thing. Lots promised for people well-versed in classical music, as well as for the noobs. People who know what they're listening for can search by composer, work, conductor, or even catalog number according to Apple, and find specific recordings instantly. For the less knowledgeable, the company says the app makes it easy for beginners to get acquainted with the genre, thanks to hundreds of essentials playlists, insightful composer biographies, deep dive guides for many keywords, and intuitive browsing features. Over 5 million tracks are promised for the world's largest classical music catalog, according to Apple, presented in the highest quality audio. There are also said to be thousands of recordings in immersive spatial audio with Dolby Atmos. Not to hammer what's not there, but I'm kind of bummed to see one thing missing. A piece on the offering from Mac Rumors points out that there is no radio tab in the Apple Music Classical app. Of course, there are the classical stations in Apple Music. Users will have access to those because you can't have one without the other. According to the list of requirements on the App Store page, Apple Music Classical requires an Apple Music subscription. Any subscription will do except the Apple Music Voice plan. Other requirements: you have to have an internet connection to listen, and you have to have an iPhone running iOS 15.4 or later. Switching back to what's missing, reports say there is currently no Android app, though one is said to be on the way. There's no app dedicated to iPad, though one should be able to run the iPhone app on the tablet. And there is no mention of a dedicated Apple Music app for the Mac. Also, there are a few countries that will not support Apple Music Classical, or vice versa. The page for the service in the App Store says it will be available worldwide: China, Japan, Korea, Russia, Taiwan, Turkey, Afghanistan, and Pakistan not included. For places where it will work, you can pre-order the app now. Don't be put off by that wording, though. The app is free, and again, the music is included with a regular Apple Music subscription. Oh, and if you want to keep up with the service on Twitter, you can do that, apparently. Everything new in classical music will be available at twitter.com/Apple Classical. A dizzying number of price points is now available to App Store developers, continuing a move that started last December. A piece from Mac Rumors says Apple on Thursday announced that its range of over 900 price points is now available for paid apps and one-time in-app purchases. When first introduced, the piece explains that the full range of pricing was only available for auto-renewable subscriptions. The price points run from as low as 29 cents to as high as $9,999.99, though developers need special permission to access or offer the 100 highest prices. Apple says the new pricing scheme offers more flexibility, increasing incrementally across price ranges. So every 10 cents up to $10, every 50 cents between $10 and $50, and so on. Another feature previously promised is also going wider. MacRumor says Apple is adding globally equalized pricing that follows the most common pricing conventions in each country or region, along with worldwide options for a base price. According to Apple's developer site, developers can specify a country or region they're familiar with as the basis for globally equalized prices across the other 174 storefronts and 43 currencies for paid apps and one-time in-app purchases. That'll go global in early May, with pricing for existing apps and one-time in-app purchases updated across all 175 App Store storefronts to take advantage of new, enhanced global pricing. Evercore analyst Amit Daryanani is really excited about Apple's future in India. I told you yesterday of a Bloomberg report that said internally, Apple was elevating India to its own sales region. Coincidentally, it seems, Evercore's Daryanani hit with a bullish note on Apple and the subcontinent on the same day. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note Daryanani wrote mid-week, wherein he listed a few catalysts for the Cupertino company in India. Among them, the sheer number of people, the recent rollout of 5G infrastructure, a growing middle class, and momentum. Making the case for that last one, Daryanani wrote during Apple's most recent earnings call, CEO Tim Cook called out momentum in India, which included strong double-digit growth, record revenue, and a record level of iPhone switchers. What India might do for iPhone near term is not a small thing. Quoting his note again, Apple is well positioned to grow iPhone units in calendar year 2023 and beyond, driven by multiple tailwinds. A key growth driver for the company will be growth in emerging markets where current market share is fairly low, especially India, though this should ramp in Brazil, Indonesia, and other countries as well. Not small, but it could get bigger. The way the analyst sees it, if we assume Apple can attain China-like market share in India over time, about 17% that would be, this could represent incremental iPhone units of about 23 million for a total of 31 million units, 22 to 23 billion with a B dollars in sales upside, and 40 to 50 cents of annual earnings per share upside. You say Apple's going to start viewing India as its own thing, huh? Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $190. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Collide, endpoint security powered by people. I was so impressed when I first heard about Collide, how they work to make your workplace safer by getting your workers on board with the whole security thing. Not just telling them what they have to do, but educating them as to why. Part of me thinks everything should be like that. Education and incentive in your pocket or the palm of your hand. Now, if you're an Okta user, Collide can get your entire fleet to 100% compliance in the same way. The moment Collide's agent detects a problem, it alerts the user and gives them instructions on how to fix it. They don't fix it in a certain amount of time, they're blocked. Yes, I know, that sounds tough. Seriously, though, unsecured devices are logging into your company's apps because there is nothing stopping them from doing so. Collide is the only device trust solution that enforces compliance as part of authentication and it is built to work seamlessly with Okta. Collide's method means fewer support tickets, less frustration, and most importantly, 100% fleet compliance. Visit collide.com/macOSKen to learn more and book a demo. That's KOLIDE.com/macOSKen. Collide.com/macOSKen. An old Apple store is reopening next week. Apple Insider says Apple Confluence in Lyon, France, will open again on Friday, the 17th of March. That'll cap a 2-month closure for renovations, during which time Apple renovated the store. Whole thing's kind of strange. Apple didn't really announce that the store was closing for the reno, though the piece says Apple Care Plus customers were notified. The store's site has been updated with a modernized Apple logo, but no art of what's to come. The site also says update of the store in progress en français, though it doesn't say what has changed. It's not hard to guess, though. Indications are that the store's look had not changed since it opened in 2012. Expect more natural wood, more modern displays, and frustration figuring out where to go for your genius appointment. The Apple TV Plus comedy Shrinking is getting a second season. The Cupertino streamer issued a press release Thursday saying that the series, co-created by the show's star Jason Segel and Ted Lasso creatives Bill Lawrence and Brett Goldstein, has been renewed for Season 2. Since its premiere, the release says, Shrinking has been hailed as one of 2023's funniest shows, as well as the most charming and life-affirming show about grieving ever made. I'd be curious to see what other shows turn up on that list. I called Segel the show's star, though he's not the only one. Not even the biggest. This is the one that puts Harrison Ford in one of his first television roles. Apple's wasting no time locking in another run. The Season 2 announcement hits as Season 1 continues to roll out to viewers. New episodes currently hit on Fridays on Apple TV+. And finally today, if you want to watch live baseball but don't have the time, cable service, streaming package, or will to actually watch live baseball, iOS 16 has you covered. MacRumors says an update to the Major League Baseball, or MLB, app has added support for live activities. Announced during last year's WWDC, Apple says Live Activities is a feature that helps users stay on top of things that are happening in real time, such as a sports game, workout, rideshare, or food delivery order, right from the lock screen. Now it's batter up, balls and strikes, and all of it, all without having to open the app or even unlock your phone. According to the piece, after updating to the latest version of the app, users can choose the track option from the list of games to add up-to-date scoring to the lock screen and Dynamic Island. Assuming, of course, you have Dynamic Island. Scores can be tracked through that on iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, according to the report. Today on the Mac Observer's Daily Observations podcast, TMO Managing Editor Jeff Butts and I will talk over the Apple Music classical news. Plus, there is a rumor that has Apple testing the limits of what one would pay for an iPad and testing the limits of credulity in Jeff's estimation. We will hit all of that on the Daily Observations podcast from the Mac Observer, online at macobserver.com or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Collide, endpoint security powered by people. Learn more and book a demo today at collide.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.